Let's talk, though, about the cover of Time magazine. This is near and dear to my heart. I've revealed this before. This is my girlfriend. I'm not ashamed to say it. She's on the cover of Time magazine.
I did not know that, Joe.
Well, you don't watch my show, then.
We would have let you write a love letter to her inside.
Oh, well, you know what? We prefer to correspond privately.
Okay.
That's okay.
But now it's revealed to the world. But so the reveal to the world, it is the State of Hiillary. It is a fantastic cover story by Joe Klein, the premier Clinton chronicler of our time, who went with the new Secretary of State to the Middle East, to Pakistan, Morocco, and he came back to tell us about it. It's a fantastic, intimate look at Hillary and how she's doing. And basically, I think the trip last week was her kind of emergence on the world stage. It's not even the re-emergence, because she's been awfully quiet for the first 9 months.
How's she doing?
You know, he begins the story by saying she made a gaffe when she was in Israel by basically agreeing with Netanyahu about the settlement policy that was a violation of what the U.S. had wanted. And so he sees her as still finding her feet as Secretary of State, still figuring out her relationship.
I got to stop you there.
That's your girlfriend, I'm sorry, Joe.
No, seriously. No, I'm serious here. Does Joe Klein really think that Hillary Clinton is such a rank amateur that she is going to make a, quote, mistake on an issue as important right now to Middle East peace as settlements without being told by the White House, play good cop for us? Could you, when you're Netanyahu, play good cop?
You think the White House said to her, play good cop, when Netanyahu is saying that he's doing something that's unprecedented?
I know they did. Hillary's not going to go wrong.
Well, he has. I don't know the answer to it, but he has, in the story, he has basically unnamed White House officials saying that she's made mistakes and that she's gone rogue, as it were, sometimes from whatever the White House policy is.
That's fascinating.
So when she was in Pakistan and taking the opposite side and saying, okay, we know you have Al-Qaeda and you could have frankly done a better job in finding them, is that message also coming from the White House?
Well, it's interesting. Joe makes the case, and I think his larger point is that she could become one of the world's great public diplomats. And he took the time that she was in Pakistan and saying, a U.S. Secretary of State has never gone and done town halls, never subjected himself or herself to interviews. And basically the message that she was sending, which I think the White House does want, is it's a different kind of America. We're open. We're listening to you. It's not, you know, the old administration where we just said Mr. Musharraf was right and you guys have to do whatever we tell you. So he sees her as this absolutely new breath of fresh air in public diplomacy and will change the perception of the U.S. in some ways differently even than Obama has.
I agree with that.
I think she will. And I loved, speaking of Pakistan, there were a couple of great moments there, Mika. The first one was when they were saying, you guys want to give us all of the money and you're the undue influence. And she said, we don't have to give you the money.
Yeah, we can take
you don't want the money. And
that was...
Diplomats don't talk that way. And I know it had to be jarring. And then there was the other part where she said, listen, you know, let's be honest here. You guys know where Al-Qaeda is.
Right.
And we're gonna, at some point, we're going to just stop playing this game. That sort of bluntness, I think, is a perfect contrast to Barack Obama flying, as Jana Harmon says, at 40,000 feet, throwing flower petals out and being all sweetness.
Well, but isn't that the way, I mean, isn't that the classic way it should be? The president flies at 40,000 feet, the Secretary of State is a little bit lower down.
But she is so effective in those town hall meetings, isn't she?
Yes. You know what I don't know, and Joe makes the case that it is changing the way diplomacy is done. I'm not exactly sure how the Pakistanis react to it, but I mean, he basically makes the case, though, that and he quotes Pakistani saying, you know, we never thought the U.S. could be like this before, that a representative of the U.S. could be like this.
Well, and I wondered about the cultural translation of that comment, of a couple of comments that she's made when she's been abroad. At the same time, you know, in very plain terms, she made it clear, something that, you know, we all kind of tiptoe around when it comes to Pakistan.
Well, and even in contrast to what we were talking about with the election, where you have people saying that night is day and day is night, that candor is refreshing. It's certainly refreshing in that environment where in diplomacy, you know, you never say the reality, and she's talking about the reality.
Right, absolutely.
I get the sense, too, that people, not in the press necessarily, but people out there are kind of rooting for Hillary Clinton after she was, you know, she lost this race that she, you know, supposedly lived her whole life for, and this guy swept in and took it away from her. She was down a little bit.
And the press savaged her.
And the press
they
savaged
were unfair
her.
To Hillary.
But I get the sense now people have come around on her and now rooting for her success.
And
well, her popularity will continue to grow. I mean, it's very high now. And again, when you're the president, you're on the front lines every day, and your numbers go up and down. I mean, now I think Hillary is Secretary of State. I mean, she will become probably the most beloved and popular woman in America, if not the world.
In a way, having had that kind of defeat, which must have hurt so much, and then saying, okay, I'm going to be such a great team player, and working for the White House and working for Barack Obama. I think that's what also is garnering
and I guess that's the
right.
big question right now. A year ago, people said Hillary can't do this. She's not going to be a team player.
And look,
what did Joe Klein find? Is she a team player?
No, she's absolutely a team player. She is actually very beloved by the military because the military feel that she really did her homework when she was a senator to understand the military. So she's forged a good relationship with the Defense Department. Historically, state and defense don't get along. Yeah. I mean, she plays well with other campers, and in part with the idea that she's appointed these envoys like Holbrooke and Mitchell. I mean, that is a disaggregation of power, which I think is a good thing.
Hillary Clinton has so transformed herself since 1993 and 94 when guys like me ran against her. One of my favorite Hillary stories since she became a senator, after David Petraeus, there's one reporter who told me not to repeat this story. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it. But one reporter asked Petraeus, what senator knows what's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan better than anybody else? And Petraeus looked at the reporter and said, you mean other than Hillary? It was that obvious that she had so read into it. And what a transformation from this supposed wild-eyed liberal that wanted to socialize medicine, that was from Wellesley, that represented the worst radicalism of the 60s. She is sort of just solid Democrat in a voice of, let's face it, some ideologues.
Common thread for the entire show, the history of this show covering her, is to never underestimate her. Never.
Joe, more than not underestimate her. Joe has positive affection for her.
How could I underestimate somebody I love as much as Hillary Clinton? But there's another common thread with what we've been talking about today. Pragmatism. Pragmatism. And that's what Hillary Clinton has proven since she came into her own as United States Senator in 2001.
Absolutely. Coming up next, should Democrats...
Rick, that's great. I can't wait to read it.
Good cover. Should Democrats put
You're
more focus
speechless.
on
Wait, hold on.
No. I thought, the Yankees won last night. Rick Stengel, Casey Stengel. Aren't you going to ask me about this?
Making me tired.
Oh, my God.
My grandfather.
I interrupted you for that? All right.
How needy.